The council chamber was silent. Ambassador Telvara looked at the faces around the circular table and saw the same fear reflected in every eye. The holographic display above them showed a red tide spreading across the star map, consuming world after world. "They will be here in 40 cycles," said Council Speaker Morvan. His voice was steady, but his hands shook. "The Vrakesh swarm has destroyed 3 colonies already. They leave nothing behind. No survivors. No buildings. Just dead rock." Telvara had seen the footage. The swarm arrived like a living storm. Billions of creatures that ate everything organic. They stripped worlds bare in days, then moved on to the next target. And now they were coming to Serenus, the heart of the Harmonious Collective. "What about the Corinthians?" someone asked. "They have warships. They could help us," Morvan shook his head. "They want us to become their vassals. They will protect us only if we give them control of our government and half our resources." "The Valkyr Empire? Too far away. They said it would take them 60 cycles to send a fleet. We will be dead by then." Telvara watched as hope drained from the room. The collective had existed for 2,000 years in peace. They had no weapons, no soldiers, no defenses. They had peacekeepers who settled disputes and helped with disasters, but they had never fought a war. They did not know how. "There must be someone," Telvara said quietly. "Someone in the galaxy who will help us without demanding our freedom in return." The chamber fell silent again. Everyone knew the truth. The warrior races of the galaxy were busy with their own problems or wanted payment the collective could not afford. The peaceful races had no military to send. The collective had many friends in the galaxy, but friends who sent prayers and sympathy did not stop the swarm. Telvara returned to her quarters that night and stared at the communications console. She had sent 47 messages in the past 10 days. 47 calls for help to every spacefaring species they had contact with. The responses made her want to cry. "We stand with you in spirit. Our thoughts are with your people. We can offer refuge to 10,000 of your citizens." 10,000. There were 3 billion people on Serenus alone. 15 billion in the entire collective. What good were thoughts and prayers when the swarm came? She pulled up the contact database and scrolled through it one more time. There had to be someone. Anyone. Her eyes stopped on an entry near the bottom of the list. Species: human. Origin: Sol 3, Earth. Contact limited. Classification: Class 12. Deathworld. Telvara frowned. She had never heard of humans before. The entry was recent, added only a few cycles ago by a survey ship that had passed through their system. She opened the file and read the notes. Warning: Sol 3 is a Class 12 Deathworld. Extreme gravity, aggressive microbial life, toxic atmosphere combinations, frequent seismic activity, severe weather patterns, indigenous species adapted to extreme survival conditions. Recommend minimal contact. Telvara's fingers hovered over the keyboard. A Class 12 Deathworld? Most species came from Class 1 or Class 2 worlds. Serenus was a Class 1, a gentle paradise where nothing wanted to kill you and the weather was always mild. She had heard stories about Deathworlders, the rare species that evolved on deadly planets. They were supposed to be tough, aggressive, and dangerous. But desperate times called for desperate measures. She composed a message, keeping it simple. The Harmonious Collective faces extinction from the Vrakesh swarm. We are a peaceful people with no military. We ask for help. We can offer little payment, but our eternal gratitude and friendship. She added the coordinates and data on the swarm, then sent the message before she could change her mind. The signal would take cycles to reach the distant system. If the humans even bothered to respond, it would be too late anyway. Telvara went to sleep expecting nothing. 3 days later, her console beeped. She stumbled out of bed and checked the screen, her heart pounding. A response from Sol 3. The message was short. Coordinates received en route. ETA 14 cycles, that was all. No questions about payment, no demands, no requests for more information. Just acknowledgement and a travel time. Telvara brought the message to the council the next morning. Morvan read it and frowned. 14 cycles? That is faster than should be possible. They would need to travel through some very dangerous hyperspace routes to get here that quickly. Maybe they have good ships, Telvara suggested. Or maybe they are reckless. Another council member said, Deathworlders often are. We may be inviting something as dangerous as the swarm into our home. We have no choice, Telvara said firmly. The swarm will be here in 37 cycles. Either we accept help from the humans or we die. The council voted to accept the human offer. Not everyone was happy about it, but fear won over caution. The cycles passed slowly. The swarm continued its advance, destroying another colony. Refugees flooded into Serenus, bringing stories of horror. The swarm did not just kill. It consumed. It turned entire worlds into feeding grounds. Telvara prepared for the humans' arrival. She studied what little information existed about them. Earth was indeed a terrible place. It had extreme temperatures, dangerous weather, thousands of species that killed each other constantly, and diseases that could wipe out entire populations. Somehow humans had survived all of it. The database had a few images. Humans looked almost like Serenians with 2 arms and 2 legs and a head. But they were built differently. Thicker bones, denser muscles. Their eyes were positioned like predators. The notes said they were omnivores who could eat almost anything and survive in environments that would kill most species. Telvara tried to imagine what kind of creatures evolved on such a horrible world. Were they savage, violent? Would they even understand the concept of peace? On the 14th cycle, the sensors detected multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Telvara rushed to the command center with Morvan and half the council. "How many ships?" Morvan asked. 47 vessels detected, the sensor operator said. "They are strange. The ships do not match any known military configuration." The images appeared on screen. Telvara stared in confusion. The human fleet looked like it was built from scrap. Some ships had weapons welded onto cargo haulers. Others looked like colony ships with armor plating bolted on. Nothing matched. Every ship was different. "This is their military?" Someone whispered. "It looks like a junk fleet." A communication request came through. Telvara accepted it. The face that appeared on screen made several council members gasp. The human woman had dark skin marked with scars. Her left eye was cybernetic, glowing with a faint blue light. Half her hair was burned away, replaced with metal ports and connectors. She looked tired, ancient, like she had seen things that no one should see. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Expeditionary Force," the woman said. Her voice was rough and hard. "We received your distress call. We are here to help." Telvara found her voice. "We are grateful for your arrival, Commander. How soon can you—" "My ships will begin defensive preparations immediately," Chen interrupted. "Send us data on your population centers, infrastructure, and resources. We will set up defensive positions. The swarm will arrive in approximately 23 cycles. That gives us time to prepare. Commander, we should discuss terms and—" "There are no terms," Chen said. Her damaged face showed no emotion. "You called for help. We came, that is all. Now send us the data so we can save your people." The transmission ended. Telvara looked at Morvan. The council speaker looked as shocked as she felt. "Who are these humans?" he whispered. "What kind of species just shows up to fight and die for strangers?" Telvara had no answer. But as she watched the strange human ships move deeper into the system, she felt something she had not felt in weeks. Hope. The first human shuttle landed in the capital spaceport 2 hours after the fleet arrived. Telvara waited at the landing pad with a diplomatic welcome team. She had prepared a formal greeting speech and arranged for proper ceremonies. The collective always welcomed visitors with music and flowers and kind words. The shuttle's ramp opened. Telvara raised her hand in the traditional greeting gesture and opened her mouth to speak. She stopped. Her words died in her throat. 20 humans marched down the ramp in formation. Every single one of them carried weapons. Not small ceremonial weapons, but large rifles that looked designed to kill. They wore armor that was scratched and dented and repaired many times. Their faces showed scars and burns and missing pieces replaced with metal and plastic. The human in front, a tall man with a mechanical leg, stopped and scanned the area with hard eyes. His hand never left his rifle. "Area secure," he said into a communication device. "No threats detected. What are they doing?" whispered Morvan beside Telvara. The humans spread out around the landing pad, checking corners and watching the sky. They moved like they expected an attack at any moment. Several of them looked at Telvara's welcome team with suspicion, hands tight on their weapons. Commander Chen walked down the ramp last. In person, she was even more frightening. She had replaced her left arm below the elbow with a mechanical prosthetic that whirred softly when she moved. Burn scars covered the left side of her neck. She moved like someone who was always in pain but had learned to ignore it. "Commander Chen," Telvara said, trying to sound calm. "Welcome to Serenus. We are honored to—" "Where is your command center?" Chen interrupted. "I need access to your sensor network, communication systems, and defense grid." "We do not have a defense grid," Telvara admitted. "We are a peaceful—" "Then we will build one," Chen said. She looked at the man with the mechanical leg. "Lieutenant Morrison, start setting up perimeter sensors. I want eyes on every approach vector within 6 hours." "Yes, ma'am," Morrison said. He barked orders at his team. The humans scattered, not even looking at Telvara's welcome delegation. Chen turned back to Telvara. "I need maps of your cities, data on your industrial capacity and locations of all spaceports and landing zones. Also, I need to know how many civilians you can evacuate and how fast." Telvara felt overwhelmed. "Commander, perhaps we should sit down and discuss—" "Ambassador, the swarm will be here in 23 cycles," Chen said. Her voice was not unkind, but it was firm. "Every minute we spend on ceremonies is a minute we are not building defenses. People will die because of wasted minutes. Do you understand?" Telvara understood. She nodded and led Chen to the council building. Over the next few days, more humans arrived. They came in shuttles and dropships, thousands of them, and every single one scared the Serenians. The humans never relaxed. They carried weapons everywhere, even to meals. They checked corners constantly. They built fortifications around important buildings without asking permission. Telvara watched them work and felt a growing unease. These were not soldiers from a proud military. These people looked like survivors of some terrible disaster. They moved with the efficiency of experience, but also with a darkness that made her skin crawl. She attended a meeting with Chen and several human officers. They stood around a holographic map of the system, marking defensive positions with practiced ease. "We will fortify the orbital stations here and here," said a scarred woman named Captain Rodriguez. "Mining explosives can be converted to orbital mines. We scatter them along the swarm's approach vector." "We will need every armed civilian on the ground," said Morrison. "How many peacekeepers do you have?" "About 50,000 across all our worlds," Telvara said. "But they are trained in conflict resolution and disaster relief, not combat." The humans exchanged looks. Chen rubbed her face with her good hand. "Train them anyway," Chen said. "Show them which end of a gun to point at the enemy. That is all we have time for." "Commander, our people are not warriors," Telvara protested. "They have never killed anything. They will freeze when the swarm comes. Then they will die," Chen said flatly. "But maybe they will die after killing 1 or 2 swarm creatures first. Every dead enemy is one less to kill someone else." The coldness in her voice shocked Telvara. "You speak of death so easily." Chen looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. "Because death is easy, Ambassador. Surviving is what is hard. I have watched entire planets die. I have seen billions of people turn to ash. Death comes easily to everyone. Our job is to make it come a little slower." That night, Telvara went to observe the human encampment outside the city. She wanted to understand these strange people who had traveled so far to help strangers. The camp was organized with military precision. Rows of temporary shelters, weapons stored and maintained constantly, patrol routes marked clearly. But there was also something else, something unexpected. Music drifted from one of the shelters. Humans sat in groups, singing songs that sounded old and sad and defiant all at once. They laughed at jokes Telvara did not understand. They shared food from their home world, exotic and strange-smelling things. She saw Morrison sitting with his team around a small fire. His mechanical leg was detached, lying beside him for repairs. He was smiling, telling a story that made the others laugh. "And then the reactor started melting down while we were still inside," Morrison said. "So Chen just looks at us and says, 'Well, we are already here. Might as well fix it.'" The humans roared with laughter. Telvara did not understand the joke, but she saw something in their faces. These people had seen horror together. They had survived together. They were family. A young human woman noticed Telvara watching. She walked over, her rifle slung across her back. "Can I help you with something, ma'am?" the woman asked. Her face had fewer scars than most, but her eyes looked much older than her young body. "I was just observing," Telvara said. "I am trying to understand your people." The woman smiled, but it was a sad smile. "That will take a while. We are complicated." "Why did you come here?" Telvara asked. "You do not know us. We cannot pay you. Why risk your lives for strangers? The woman was quiet for a moment. She looked up at the unfamiliar stars above Serenus. My name is Private Jessica Park, she finally said. I was born on Mars in the underground colonies. When I was 8 years old, a reactor failed and flooded 3 districts with radiation. 5,000 people died in 10 minutes. My parents were in one of those districts. Telvara felt her heart break for this young woman. The other colonies sent help, Jessica continued. They sent medical teams and supplies and engineers. They saved everyone who could be saved. Strangers risked radiation poisoning to pull survivors from the wreckage. I am alive because strangers decided I was worth saving. She looked at Telvara with those old eyes. I am here because someone needs help, Jessica said simply. That is reason enough. Telvara returned to the council building with her head full of questions. She found Chen in the command center studying reports. The commander looked exhausted but did not stop working. Commander, may I ask you something? Telvara said. Chen looked up. Make it quick. Your people have seen terrible things, Telvara said. Private Park told me about Mars. I read about Earth's history in our database. Nuclear wars, plagues, machine rebellions. Your own planet tried to kill you for thousands of years. How do you keep going? How do you stay sane? Chen was quiet for a long time. She looked at the maps, at the tactical displays, at the countdown timer showing 20 cycles until the swarm arrived. We keep going because we have to, Chen finally said. Humans are not the strongest species. We are not the smartest or the fastest. We break easily, we scar. We hurt, she held up her mechanical arm, but we are stubborn. When the world ends, we dig ourselves out of the rubble and rebuild. When the bombs fall, we hide in bunkers and wait for the radiation to fade. When the machines hunt us, we learn to hide better and fight harder. We lose, Ambassador. We lose so much and so often that losing does not stop us anymore. That sounds like torture, Telvara whispered. It is, Chen agreed. Being human is often torture. We carry our dead with us everywhere we go. We remember every failure, every loss, every person we could not save. It weighs on us until we can barely stand. Then why fight? Why not just give up? Chen looked at her with something that might have been pity. Because someone has to, she said. Someone has to stand up when the monsters come. Someone has to be the wall between the innocent and the dark. It might as well be us. We are already broken. We are already scarred. We know how to bleed and keep fighting. She turned back to her displays. Get some rest, Ambassador. When the swarm comes, you will need your strength. We all will. Telvara left the command center feeling small and fragile. The humans had come to help, but she was beginning to understand that they had not come as saviors or heroes. They had come as fellow survivors, ready to share the burden of another species' nightmare, because they knew, better than anyone, what it felt like to face extinction alone. The sensors detected the swarm at the edge of the system on the morning of the 23rd cycle. Telvara was in the command center when the alarm started screaming. Multiple contacts, the sensor operator called out. His voice shook with fear. Hundreds of them. No, thousands. They are coming from every direction. The main display showed the swarm entering the system like a dark cloud. Each dot on the screen represented thousands of creatures, living ships that pulsed and writhed as they moved. They did not fly in formations like normal ships. They swarmed like insects, chaotic and unstoppable. Chen stood at the command table watching the display with cold eyes. Around her, human officers worked with quiet efficiency. No panic, no fear, just grim acceptance. They are heading for the outer colonies first, Chen said. Helvara Station and the mining outposts. They will strip those worlds clean before coming here. How long do we have? Morven asked. His voice was barely a whisper. 4 days. Maybe 5? 4 days? Telvara felt her legs go weak. The people on those worlds, can we evacuate them? Chen shook her head. Not in time. The swarm is moving too fast. We have ships standing by for whoever makes it to the evacuation points, but most people will not. Then we have to stop the swarm there, Morven said desperately, before they reach the colonies. We cannot stop them, Chen said. We can only slow them down. Morrison, take your battalion to Helvara Station. Hold the evacuation points as long as possible. Every minute you buy us is 1,000 lives saved. Morrison saluted. His face showed no fear, only tired determination. Yes, ma'am. We will hold. Telvara watched the human forces deploy. Thousands of soldiers loaded into ships and headed toward the outer colonies. They knew they were flying toward death, but they went anyway. No hesitation. No questions. The first reports came back 18 hours later. The swarm hit Helvara Station like a tsunami. Billions of creatures descended on the small colony world, blotting out the sun. They were living nightmares, each one different. Some had wings and claws. Others crawled on hundreds of legs. Some dissolved metal with acid. Others breathed fire, and they were hungry. So very hungry. Morrison's forces held the evacuation points while civilians fled to the spaceports. Telvara watched the battle feeds from the command center, unable to look away from the horror. The humans fought like cornered animals. They set traps and ambushes. They used every weapon they had, from rifles to explosives to their bare hands when ammunition ran out. The footage showed Private Jessica Park standing in a doorway, firing her rifle until the barrel glowed red, while refugees ran behind her. A swarm creature, all teeth and claws and hunger, leaped at her. Jessica dodged, let it pass, and stabbed it with a combat knife. The creature's acid blood sprayed across her armor, eating through the metal. She screamed but kept fighting. Why does she not retreat? Telvara asked, horrified. Because people are still evacuating behind her, Chen said quietly. If she runs, the swarm gets through. If the swarm gets through, everyone dies. So she stands. The battle raged for 6 hours. 6 hours of humans dying to buy minutes for refugees. The evacuation ships lifted off one by one, packed with terrified civilians. Morrison's battalion covered them, falling back meter by meter. In the end, Morrison got 70,000 people off Helvara Station. The colony had held 150,000. The rest died when the swarm overwhelmed the final defensive positions. Morrison and 42 soldiers made it back to the evacuation ship. They had started with 300. Morrison's mechanical leg was torn off. He had field bandaged the stump and kept fighting on one leg. When the survivors returned to Serenus, Telvara went to the medical bay. She needed to see them, to understand what they had sacrificed. The bay was full of wounded humans, burns, missing limbs, acid damage, deep wounds from claws and teeth. The medical staff worked desperately to save everyone they could. But some wounds were too severe. Some humans would not make it. Telvara found Jessica Park on a medical bed. The young woman's armor had been cut away. The acid had burned through to her skin. Half her torso was covered in terrible wounds. Private Park, Telvara said softly. Jessica opened her eyes. She looked so tired. Ambassador.
Did they make it?
The civilians? Yes, 70,000 people are alive because of you and your unit. Jessica smiled through her pain. Good, that is good. Why did you stand there? Telvara asked. You could have retreated sooner. You could have saved yourself. Someone had to hold the door, Jessica said. Her voice was getting weaker. Someone always has to hold the door. That is what soldiers do. A human medic checked Jessica's monitors and shook his head at Telvara. Not much time left. I do not understand your people, Telvara whispered, tears running down her face. You throw your lives away for strangers. Not throwing them away, Jessica said. Spending them. There is a difference. She coughed and blood appeared on her lips. My parents died alone in the dark, scared and wondering if anyone cared. Those people today, they got to live because someone cared enough to stand between them and the monsters. That means something. Jessica Park died 3 minutes later. She was 22 years old. The swarm consumed the outer colonies in 2 days. Helvara Station, the mining outposts, the agricultural worlds. They stripped everything clean and moved on. 3 million people died. The humans saved 400,000. Now the swarm turned its attention to Serenus itself. Chen called a final command meeting. Every available officer gathered around the tactical display. Telvara looked at their faces and saw the exhaustion, the pain, the grim knowledge of what was coming. The swarm will arrive in 36 hours, Chen said. They are coming in fast. No subtlety, no tactics, just overwhelming numbers. We have fortified the orbital stations and placed minefields along the approach vectors. Ground forces are positioned around every major city. Will it be enough? Marvin asked. Chen looked at him with those cold, knowing eyes. No, it will not be enough. The swarm is too large. We will kill millions of them, but millions more will get through. Then what do? Telvara asked desperately. We fight anyway, Chen said. We make them pay for every meter of ground. We buy time for evacuations. We hold the line for as long as humanly possible, and then we hold it a little longer. She looked around at her officers. I will not lie to you. Most of us will not survive this. The swarm does not take prisoners. They do not show mercy. When they come, it will be bad. Worse than Helvara. Worse than anything you have seen. Morrison spoke up from his wheelchair. Then we will make it bad for them too. The other humans nodded. Grim smiles. Dark humor. The gallows laughter of people who knew they were going to die but refused to go quietly. All units prepare for final defensive operations. Chen ordered. Check your weapons. Say your goodbyes. Get some rest if you can. In 36 hours, we remind the universe why you do not mess with Deathworlders. The meeting broke up. Telvara followed Chen to the observation deck overlooking the city. Serenus stretched out below them, beautiful and peaceful. For now, your people are going to die for us, Telvara said. You came here knowing you would probably die and you came anyway. Why? Chen was quiet for a long moment. She looked at the setting sun painting the sky orange and gold. Do you know what the worst part of dying alone is? Chen finally asked. It is not the pain or the fear. It is the wondering. Wondering if anyone will remember you. Wondering if your life mattered. Wondering if anyone would have come to help if they could have. She turned to look at Telvara. Humanity almost went extinct 6 times in our history. 6 times we nearly died as a species, and every single time we were alone. No one came to help. No one even knew we existed. We survived because we were stubborn and lucky and too stupid to give up. But we remember what it felt like to think we were going to die alone and forgotten. So you came here so we would not feel that way, Telvara said. We came here because we could, Chen said. Because we are here now and can help. Because maybe if we help enough people, if we answer enough distress calls, then someday when humanity is dying again, someone will remember and return the favor. She laughed bitterly. Or maybe we came because we are broken and only know how to fight. Maybe we came because stopping the monsters is the only thing we are good at anymore. I do not know. I stopped trying to understand why we do what we do. I just do it. The sun set completely and darkness fell over Serenus. In the sky, Telvara could see the stars, beautiful and cold and indifferent, and somewhere out there in that cold darkness the swarm was coming. Telvara stood beside Commander Chen and watched the last peaceful night Serenus would ever know. Tomorrow the humans would fight and die for people they barely knew. They would stand between the innocent and the dark, just as they had always done, because someone had to, and the humans, those scarred and broken survivors from a terrible world, refused to let anyone face the dark alone. The swarm arrived with the dawn. Telvara was in the command bunker when the sensors lit up like fire. Thousands of contacts, millions of creatures, a living wall of hunger and death descending on Serenus from every direction. All units, stand by, Chen's voice echoed across the communication network. Calm, cold, ready. Orbital batteries, you are cleared to fire when they enter range. Make every shot count. The orbital stations opened fire first. Massive energy weapons designed for mining asteroids now turned on living targets. The beams cut through the swarm like knives, each shot killing hundreds of creatures. But for every 100 that died, 1,000 more took their place. The minefields activated next. Converted mining explosives detonated across the approach vectors, turning space into a field of fire and shrapnel. Millions of swarm creatures died in the blasts. It was not enough. It was never going to be enough. Brace for impact, Morrison said from the ground command post. They are coming through. The swarm hit the atmosphere like a meteor shower of teeth and claws. The sky turned black with falling creatures. They landed in the fields around the cities, in the forests, in the rivers. Everywhere at once. Too many to count. Too many to stop. The human defensive lines opened fire. Telvara watched the battle feeds in horror. The humans fought with weapons she had never seen before. Rifles that fired explosive rounds. Launchers that sent rockets into the swarm masses. Flamethrowers that turned creatures to ash. The humans had brought tools of death that made her sick to witness, but it worked. The swarm creatures died by the thousands under the human firepower. Bodies piled up in front of the defensive positions. The humans sang as they fought, old war songs in languages Telvara did not understand. Songs about standing against the darkness, songs about dying but not yielding. A defensive position outside the capital city held by 50 humans killed 3,000 swarm creatures in the first hour. The humans fought from trenches and bunkers, creating killing fields that the swarm had to cross to reach them. The creatures kept coming, climbing over the bodies of their dead driven by mindless hunger. Falling back to secondary positions, a human officer reported. Her voice was strained but controlled. We lost the eastern bunker. Swarm broke through. 20 casualties. Copy that, Chen responded. Air support inbound to your location. But Telvara could see the truth in the tactical displays. The humans were being overwhelmed. For every position they held, the swarm pushed through somewhere else. The line was breaking. Commander, Telvara said urgently, we cannot hold them. There are too many. I know, Chen said. She pressed a button on her console. All units, Protocol 7 is authorized. I repeat, Protocol 7 is authorized. The human officers around her went very still. One of them, Captain Rodriguez, looked at Chen with wide eyes. Commander, Protocol 7 is... I know what it is, Chen interrupted. But we are out of options. Deploy the weapons. Telvara felt a chill run down her spine. What is Protocol 7? Chen turned to look at her and Telvara saw something terrible in her eyes. Guilt. Shame. Necessity. The weapons we swore we would never use again. Chen said quietly. The weapons that almost destroyed Earth. The weapons we kept only for the worst possible situations. She pulled up files on the display. Telvara read the titles and felt horror wash over her. Biological weapons, self-replicating hunter-killer drones, neutron bombs, kinetic orbital strikes. These weapons are monstrous, Telvara whispered. They violate every law of warfare. They could kill everything on this planet. Yes, Chen said simply. They could. But controlled, targeted, they can also kill the swarm. All of it. Every last creature. How can you even have such terrible things? Chen's face was hard as stone. Because humanity learned the hard way that sometimes you need monsters to fight monsters. We learned that holding back, fighting fair, being noble gets everyone killed. So we made weapons that could end worlds, and we have carried the shame of having them ever since. Then why use them now? Because you called for help, Chen said. And this is what we have to give. Our scars, our sins, our terrible weapons born from our terrible history. We will use them so you do not have to. We will carry this shame so you can stay innocent. Telvara wanted to protest, to say they would find another way. But the displays showed the truth. The swarm was pushing into the cities now. Civilians were dying. Children were dying. Without the terrible weapons, everyone would die. Do it, she whispered. Chen gave the orders. The first Protocol 7 weapon deployed was biological, a virus engineered to attack the swarm's neural tissue. Human aircraft flew over the swarm masses and released clouds of the weapon. It looked like mist, harmless and gentle. The swarm creatures began dying within minutes. They convulsed and collapsed, their bodies shutting down as the virus ate through their nervous systems. Millions of creatures died in waves, their advance stopping as they fell. But the swarm adapted. Some creatures were immune. They kept coming, evolving past the weapon in hours. The swarm had faced such things before. Deploy the drones, Chen ordered. The self-replicating hunter-killer drones launched from human positions across the planet. Each drone was small, fast, and equipped with cutting lasers and explosive charges. They hunted swarm creatures with ruthless efficiency, darting through the air to deliver killing blows. And they replicated. Each drone could build 2 more from materials it scavenged. 2 became 4. 4 became 8. Within hours, millions of drones filled the skies above Serenus, a swarm fighting a swarm. The battle became something out of nightmares. Creatures fighting machines, fighting soldiers, fighting for survival. The sky was dark with bodies and drones. The ground was covered in the dead. The air smelled of blood and burning and death. Telvara left the command bunker. She needed to see it with her own eyes, to understand what the humans were doing for her people. The capital city was under siege. Swarm creatures poured through the streets while human soldiers fought. Building by building, Telvara saw a human medic dragging a wounded Serenian civilian to safety, while firing her pistol one-handed at pursuing creatures. She saw Morrison, still in his wheelchair, commanding artillery strikes from a rooftop position. She saw humans standing back-to-back, surrounded by enemies, fighting until they ran out of ammunition and then fighting with knives and fists. She saw humans die. So many humans die. A swarm creature burst from an alley in front of her. Telvara froze, unable to move as the thing charged at her with claws extended and jaws open. An explosion threw the creature sideways. A human soldier appeared carrying a rocket launcher. He was bleeding from a dozen wounds, his armor torn and broken. Get to the shelter, he shouted at Telvara. Now! The soldier turned back to the fight, reloading his weapon. Telvara ran. Behind her, she heard the soldier singing as he fired, an old song about holding the line, about not giving up, about making the enemy pay for every meter. She heard the song cut off suddenly. She did not look back. In the command bunker, Chen was coordinating the final strike. The tactical display showed swarm command nodes, the central organisms that directed the swarm's movements. They were massive, the size of buildings, hidden in the center of the largest swarm concentrations. If we kill the command nodes, the swarm loses coordination, Rodriguez explained. The creatures will scatter, become confused. We can hunt them down in smaller groups. What is the problem? Telvara asked. The command nodes are deep inside swarm territory, Chen said. Any strike team sent to destroy them will not come back. It is a one-way mission. Then how? I am leading the strike myself, Chen said. She was putting on combat armor, checking weapons. Around her, other human officers were doing the same. Volunteers, people choosing to die so others could live. Commander, you cannot, Telvara protested. We need you. The defense needs you. The defense needs the command nodes destroyed, Chen said. Rodriguez can command just as well as I can. Better, probably. This is more important. She finished gearing up and looked at Telvara one last time. It has been an honor fighting for your people, Ambassador, Chen said. I am sorry we could not save more of them. You saved all of us, Telvara said through tears. You came when no one else would. You fought when we could not. You gave everything, Chen smiled. It was a sad, tired smile. That is what we do. That is all we know how to do anymore. She turned to her strike team. 30 humans, all volunteers, all knowing they were about to die. Let us go kill some command nodes, Chen said. Make it count. The strike teams deployed in armored transports driving straight into the heart of the swarm. Telvara watched the feeds as they fought their way deeper into enemy territory. The humans used every weapon they had, clearing a path through endless waves of creatures. Chen's transport reached the first command node. The humans planted explosive charges around the massive organism, while defending against swarm attacks from all sides. Chen herself carried a nuclear demolition charge, a small bomb powerful enough to level a city block. Charges set, Chen reported. Her voice was calm, like she was reporting routine maintenance. Detonating in 30 seconds. All teams, fall back to minimum safe distance. Commander, you cannot get clear in 30 seconds, Rodriguez said from the command bunker. The morning after the battle, Telvara walked through the human field hospital. Rows of beds stretched in every direction, filled with wounded soldiers. Missing limbs, burned skin, broken bones. The medical staff worked without rest, trying to save everyone they could. But some wounds could not be healed. Telvara found a young human man lying on a bed near the back. He was maybe 20 years old, with brown hair and gentle eyes. Half his body was covered in bandages. Medical monitors beeped softly beside him. A doctor had pulled Telvara aside and told her quietly that the man would not survive the day. May I sit with you? Telvara asked softly. The young man opened his eyes and smiled. It was a peaceful smile, despite the pain he must be feeling. Sure, company is nice. Telvara sat in the chair beside his bed. She did not know what to say. What do you say to someone dying for you? What is your name? She finally asked. Private Daniel Torres, he said. His voice was weak but clear. From Earth, California specifically. Have you ever seen Earth? No, I have only read about it. It is beautiful, Daniel said, his eyes distant with memory. I grew up near the ocean. Every morning I would watch the sun rise over the water. My mom used to say that no matter how bad things got, the sun would always rise again. I am sorry you will not see it again, Telvara whispered. Daniel looked at her with those gentle eyes. Do not be sorry. I chose to come here. We all did. But why? Telvara asked. The question that had haunted her since the humans arrived. Why did you come here to die for people you do not know? Daniel was quiet for a moment, thinking. My great-great-grandfather lived during the last war, the one that almost destroyed Earth. He was just a kid when the bombs fell. He watched his whole city burn. His parents died. His friends died. He survived by hiding in a basement for 3 months, eating rats and drinking rainwater. He coughed, and Telvara saw blood on his lips. She held his hand gently. He used to tell me stories, Daniel continued, about those days, about how scared he was, how alone. He said the worst part was not knowing if anyone else in the world survived. not knowing if anyone would come, not knowing if humanity was just over. But people did survive, Telvara said. Yeah, they did. And when my great-great-grandfather finally came out of that basement, other survivors found him, fed him, took care of him. Strangers who shared their food even though they barely had enough for themselves. He never forgot that. He taught my grandfather, who taught my dad, who taught me, when someone needs help, you help. No questions, no payment. You just help. So you came here, Telvara said. We came here, Daniel corrected. All of us. Because your message said you needed help. Because we remember what it is like to be helpless and alone. Because maybe, just maybe, if we help enough people, then when humanity needs help again, someone will remember. His eyes started to close. His breathing became shallow. Did we save them? Daniel asked quietly. The civilians? Did enough of them survive? Yes, Telvara said, tears streaming down her face. 3 billion people are alive because of you. Because of all of you, Daniel smiled. Good, that is good. Those were his last words. Private Daniel Torres, 20 years old, died in a field hospital on a world he had never heard of 3 weeks ago, holding the hand of an alien ambassador whose people he had saved. Telvara stayed with him for a long time, holding his hand even after he was gone. A human medic finally came and gently told her they needed the bed. So many wounded. So many dying. Not enough beds for them all. Telvara left the hospital and found Captain Rodriguez in the temporary command center. The captain looked exhausted, running the human forces now that Chen was gone. She was coordinating cleanup operations, organizing search and rescue, making sure the surviving humans were taken care of. Captain, Telvara said, I need to understand. Your people have given so much, died so much. I need to know why. Rodriguez looked up from her work. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was steady. What do you want to know? Everything, Telvara said. I have read about Earth's history. The wars, the disasters, the near extinctions. Your world tried to kill you for thousands of years. You almost destroyed yourselves multiple times. How do you live with that? How do you keep going? Rodriguez leaned back in her chair and rubbed her face. You want to know the secret of humanity? Here it is. We are really, really good at surviving. We survived the Ice Age with nothing but fur and fire. We survived plagues that killed half the planet. We survived nuclear war. We survived the machines. We keep surviving because that is what we do. It is all we know. But at what cost? Telvara asked. You are all so broken. Every one of you carries scars, physical and mental. You sing songs about death and loss. You joke about terrible things. How do you live like that? We live like that because we have to, Rodriguez said quietly. When you have seen the things we have seen, when you have lost the things we have lost, you have two choices. You can give up and die, or you can keep going and find a reason to keep fighting. Most humans choose to keep fighting. She pulled up a photo on her display. It showed a smiling woman with 2 small children. That is my wife and kids, Rodriguez said. Back on Earth. I have not seen them in 2 years. I am out here fighting wars on the other side of the galaxy, while they are home wondering if I will ever come back. Then why do you do it? Telvara asked. Why not stay with them? Because I want them to live in a galaxy where distress calls get answered, Rodriguez said. Where people help each other. Where no one has to face extinction alone. If I can make that happen by fighting out here, then my kids will grow up in a better universe. She looked at Telvara. That is why we came here. Not because we are heroes. Not because we are fearless. We came because we are terrified. Terrified that someday it will be Earth sending the distress call. Terrified that no one will come. So we come now for you, hoping that someone will remember and do the same for us. Telvara sat down, overwhelmed. You fight out of fear? We fight out of love, Rodriguez corrected. Fear of losing what we love. Love for the people we protect. Love for the idea that maybe, just maybe, the universe can be a little less dark if we try hard enough. That evening, the collective held a memorial service for the fallen humans. Thousands of Serenians gathered in the central plaza of the capital city. The human survivors stood in formation, wearing their dress uniforms. Every uniform showed the damage of battle, hastily patched and repaired. Morrison stood at the front, leaning on crutches. His mechanical leg was still being repaired. He called out the names of the dead one by one. After each name, a human would step forward and ring a bell. The list went on for hours. 3,217 names. 3,217 humans who came to help and never went home. When the names were finished, the humans sang. It was a song Telvara had heard them sing before during the battle. But now she understood the words. It was a song about standing in the darkness, about fighting when everything seems lost, about dying but not yielding, about making the enemy pay, about protecting those who cannot protect themselves. It was a song about being human. After the ceremony, Telvara approached Morrison. "Lieutenant, I wanted to thank you for everything. I know words are inadequate, but words are enough." Morrison interrupted gently. "We did not come here for payment or monuments. We came to help. The fact that your people survived is all the thanks we need. What will you do now?" Telvara asked. "Will you go home?" Morrison looked around at the damaged city, at the Serenian civilians beginning to rebuild. "Some of us will. But many of us will stay. You will need help rebuilding. You will need teachers to show you how to defend yourselves so this never happens again." "We can do that. You would stay? After everything?" "Where else would we go?" Morrison said with a sad smile. "We are soldiers, Ambassador. Fighting is what we know. But if we cannot fight, we can teach. We can help rebuild. We can make sure you are ready if the monsters come back." Over the following weeks, Telvara watched the humans integrate into Serenian society. It was awkward at first. The humans were so different, so scarred, so used to violence. But slowly, connections formed. Human veterans taught Serenian peacekeepers basic combat training. Not to make them soldiers, but to give them a chance to survive if danger came again. The lessons were hard, and the Serenians struggled with concepts that humans understood instinctively. But they learned. Telvara observed one training session where Morrison was teaching a group of young Serenians about defensive positions. "You do not need to be a warrior," Morrison told them, "but you need to be able to protect the people who cannot fight. Stand between the innocent and the danger. That is the most important lesson. Someone always has to hold the line." One young Serenian raised his hand. "But Lieutenant, were you not scared when you held the line during the battle?" Morrison laughed. It was a bitter, tired laugh. "Scared? I was terrified. I'm always terrified. Fear does not go away. You just learn to fight through it. Then how do you do it? How do you stand and fight when you are so afraid?" Morrison thought for a moment. "You find something worth being scared for, someone worth protecting, and you decide that their life is more important than your fear. Then you stand, you fight, and you do not move until they are safe.